Tonight, can Hillary Clinton get her mojo and her momentum back, or will her health and that basket of deplorables drag down her campaign? Then, the cop who put the deadly chokehold on Eric Garner now he's looking at a nice hefty pay bump. He got a raise after being taken off the streets, creating a political nightmare for Mayor de Blasio. And later, the Attica prison riots. There's a story you have never heard before, and today, exactly 45 years after the riots ended, we share that story with you. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we start tonight, where else but with a race for the White House. And as we speak, there are just 55 days till the end of this never-ending campaign. And the next big event, well, it's less than 2 weeks away, and as you know, it's in our backyard. The candidates have just 12 days left to prep for the first debate, September 26th, at Hofstra University on Long Island. And where does the race stand as we speak tonight? Well, it continues to get tighter as Hillary Clinton's lead falls below 2.5 points in a two-way race and down just 2 when you factor in the other 2 candidates, making it a 4-way race. This all according to the latest poll averages. Now, the race was already beginning to tighten last week, but now the snap polls, they're beginning to include reaction to Hillary Clinton's, well, what has to be termed a very bad weekend. It includes this image of Hillary Clinton stumbling as she fell ill at a 9/11 event in Manhattan on Sunday, caused, her campaign says, by pneumonia, which the campaign did not disclose when first diagnosed on Friday. Now, that happened just 2 days after an attack on Trump supporters was taped at a fundraiser.
Be grossly generalistic. You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Now, it prompted this response from Donald Trump just yesterday.
Nobody's heard anything like this. She called these patriotic men and women every vile name in the book. She called them racist, sexist, xenophobic, Islamophobic.
So where does the campaign go from here, and how can Clinton push back those 2 very bad moments? Now, we've gotten, without a doubt here in this final stretch to that first critical debate at Hofstra. So how key will that debate be, and what can we expect between now and then and in the final home stretch? Well, for analysis, I spoke with Rick Klein. Rick, he's political director for ABC News. And for more, let's bring in Rick Klein, ABC News political director. Rick, on the subject of the deplorables, before we get into the impact or not, do you think it was an intended or a slip of the tongue by Secretary Clinton? And I ask that because she used the same exact line and exact explanation as to that population in a previous radio interview before she did that in what she knew was an open mic and a press-attended event here. Was this really a mistake, or was this intentional?
I've heard the theories on both sides, Richard, and I think it's fascinating. I think she went a little further than she intended to. I think this is the way that she's been characterizing some Trump supporters in private settings for some time. But the way that she put a fine point on it and then a number, I think, went too far. Because it's one thing to say, look, there are some people who are part of that basket of people I don't want their support, forget about them. To say the number is half, though, suggests in her mind a division, a quantifying, millions of Americans that would then qualify for part of her so-called basket of deplorables. I don't think she wanted to go that far, but the sentiment is actually a debate that she welcomes. As you're seeing play out on the campaign trail in ads and in messaging they're bringing, they'd like to have a debate about who's in Trump's camp. They'd like to make this about David Duke and KKK members. So I think there is a serious edge to this, so I don't think it's as simple as just saying Hillary Clinton misspoke.
And to that point, as you said, Mike Pence not calling David Duke a deplorable while still denouncing what he stands for. It seems we're going to hear this for the next 50-some-odd days. Okay, to the issue of health, I've spoken to 10 people I respect on this Rick, and they're divided in camps as to whether or not we'll still be talking about this after the 26th, which is the first debate that these candidates are going to have at Hofstra. Where do you come down on this? Are we still going to be talking about her health and how she chose to not disclose it in a couple weeks, or will this be basically give it a few more cycles, we'll move on to the next thing?
I think everything depends on what she shows and not what she tells. If she goes out there and seems vigorous in public and provides lots of information, data, and details about her medical record, allows her doctors to be interviewed and probed about this, I think it goes away without any additional information. If she appears shaky in public in some way, if she appears to equivocate in terms of what she's going to release, then I think it sticks around. And I'll tell you, she does not want to be talking about that at the debate stage or beyond. She'd like those questions to be answered. Her campaign very much would like to turn the page, so that's why she's down for a few days, and I think it's how she emerges and how her campaign handles this couple of days that's what could be critical here.
Now, in terms of disclosure, it's interesting, Rick. You saw and heard what Donald Trump talked about, the deplorable comments about how she's marginalizing people in this country, et cetera. And even to the non-aficionado of this, they say, wait a second. Didn't Trump marginalize A, B, C, D different populations? When they talk about the Clinton Foundation, and then we look, and now people are declaratively saying he hasn't given a dime to charity since 2008. And moreover, our friends at the Washington Post are saying he actually took money that other people put into his foundation for his own personal use. When you put the two of them, it really feels like there's different standards in terms of measurement and play. I guess my question is, will the public care, or are they going to equate the two just because it's easier and they don't have to spend the time you and I have to do on this stuff day after day?
I'll tell you, if they equate the two, that's a win for Donald Trump, because by any objective measure, he's provided far less about his own health, his own finances, his own business dealings, his legal dealings than almost any candidate in modern history, and far less than Hillary Clinton. State that fact. That, though, does not let her off the hook for her own disclosures, because just on the issue of medical records, she, by standards set by, say, John McCain or Mitt Romney or Barack Obama, has provided very little, scant details. She says she's going to provide more. So, yes, I agree that if you line one up against the other, it's not even close. Hillary Clinton, by far the most transparent. That doesn't, though, by itself make her transparent. She doesn't benefit from grading on that curve. She doesn't get, I think, let off from having to be answered the same exact questions about her email, about her health. Those are all legitimate and valid. But you're right. If a voter just says, oh, look, they're both secret and private, that's advantage Trump, because he has undeniably provided far less than Hillary Clinton has in terms of these details.
And finally, Rick, last question. It seems to me, and you've been through a few of these yourself, by this point, we get a sense as to what the national parties think will or won't happen to them in November in terms of down ticket on a macro level. Day to day, I'm hearing Republican leaders worried about a wipeout. The next day, hey, maybe, you know what, we might not be so hurt. Democrats saying not only take the Senate, we might take the House, and now they're petrified that they won't even get the Senate here. I don't remember this amount of uncertainty about what will happen less than 2 months out in recent memory. Is it my imagination, or is it really this topsy-turvy?
Man, that is a great point. And I think every day that goes by with that kind of uncertainty around it is benefiting to the status quo, because it suggests that incumbents aren't going to be roundly bounced out. If Donald Trump can keep it close, Republicans have a very good shot of holding on to the Senate and almost no shot of losing the House. It's only that blowout scenario, which seems increasingly unlikely, that Republicans really had to panic about. The fact that they haven't cut ties, the fact that you see so many Senate races where candidates on the Republican side are either leading or within the margins against the Democrats suggests that there won't be wholesale panic, that running against Hillary Clinton is itself enough of a motivating factor. But you're right. The narratives for November are not set, whether it's the Trump-Clinton race or anything up and down the ballot.
Rick, as always, thank you for a few. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard.
And coming up next, more on the 2016 race. You just heard from Rick Klein. Now our panel weighs in. Can Clinton stop this slide in momentum, or is she in a whole lot of trouble? And later, 45 years to the day after the end of the Attica prison riot, we're going to talk with an author who chronicles what really happened, not only leading up to that, what happened during the event and what happened in the aftermath. You're going to hear a story like you've never heard before. Stay with us.